Hello and welcome to Creator Weekly for the last week of August 2025. I'm Peggy Kay, and this week there are updates for YouTube, Google Vids, Google Search, information for webmasters, Typepad, Facebook, Twitch, a bunch more. Thank you so much for joining me. This is Labor Day weekend in the US, the unofficial end of summer, and the whole thing has flown by really fast. I hope you guys are enjoying the last bit of summer this weekend. All right, I want to start with my top update this week is that YouTube Hype had a huge expansion. It started out with just a few countries that were testing it, but now YouTube Hype is available in 39 different countries. US, UK, EU countries, Japan, Korea, Indonesia, India. Let's see if I can expand that. So the important thing to know is that videos can be hyped from channels that have 500 to 500,000 subscribers. I don't know what that is. It's long form videos. It can also be live streams after the live stream part is over and it's archived, and it has to be published in the past 7 days. So this is for recent long form videos. You can hype for free 3 times per week, and the most hyped videos appear on a leaderboard and get a badge. I'll note that smaller channels get a kind of bonus, so that if you have 500 subscribers, you're not really competing directly with a channel that has 500,000 subscribers and so more fans, presumably. YouTube has some sort of factor that's supposed to equal things out. And I'll note that not all content is eligible. There's a list of the types of content that are not eligible. It can't be unlisted or private or made for kids, cannot have a content ID claim, can't be a YouTube giving fundraiser. It's not for shorts and not for live streams while they're live. YouTube has said there's more features coming this fall, including category leaderboards. So instead of just one big leaderboard, instead it'll be broken down in gaming, beauty, travel. I don't know what the categories will be. Standard categories. So you're competing with other videos in the same niche. And then they're also going to enable posts featuring the video you just hyped. So the idea is that established channels can hype a video, share a post, and it gives those channels that were hyped a little boost. So it's a way to introduce emerging talent, they said. And Andrew asks, even non-monetized stuff. So it doesn't have to be monetized, but the channel has to be in the YouTube Partner Program. So that is a requirement for now. I suspect that part of that has to do with the fact that channels in the YouTube Partner Program have been basically reviewed for their content. And, it says, for example, no misleading clickbait or sensational content. That's going to be the trickiest thing for YouTube to control, because you can imagine something sensationalized, even if it's totally fake, could get a lot of hypes. It's like a super like. So we shall see how that goes. If you see a video like, I think you may only be able to hype on mobile. I'm not entirely sure. I haven't actually seen that option yet. I think it's just rolling out, and the mobile app may need to update. The other significant update from YouTube I wanted to talk about is the YouTube Create app. This is an Android app for video editing. I actually use it all the time. And it is available in 21 countries. You have to be using an Android device with at least 4 gigabytes of RAM. It says it's available for phones. I actually use it on my Pixel tablet, so it may work on a tablet, but there's no guarantee. And what they've launched is templates, so you can kind of see over on the side there the various different types of templates. It's basically to get you started. You have a template and you just slot in your own video clips. I like it. I hope they're expanding it more. And then an update for channels in the YouTube Partner Program. If you have memberships enabled, YouTube is updating the system for billing and purchasing memberships on iOS devices. This will roll out to all creators with channel memberships September 16th. I am guessing this is related to the recent court decision in the case between Apple and Epic that said that Apple has to allow purchases from outside the App Store, so Apple doesn't get to take a great big, I think it's a 30% cut. So I think the way it works now on iOS devices, people actually pay more to kind of make up that difference. But if there's now a link, you can like go to YouTube on the web and do it. That should be better. I will mention that Apple is still fighting this ruling. They really want a bite of every single transaction for an app that's in the App Store. So we'll see how that goes. But this seems good. And a lot of companies are making these changes. Spotify just did, for example. And then YouTube is experimenting with gift goals. So gifts can be given to vertical live streams. You can find those in the Shorts feed. People purchase jewels with real money and then use those to have gifts and give gifts to the person live streaming. You can set a goal if you're live streaming vertically, and basically it's to encourage people to give gifts. And it's very similar to super chat goals that you can do for regular live streams if you're monetized. So keep on a lookout for that if you watch vertical live streams or if you live stream vertically. Moving over to Twitch. Twitch has added a new badge to identify bots that a streamer has added to the chat. So this seems like a good update. It's more transparency for what's happening in the live chat. And if you use StreamYard for live streaming, it now includes sound effects. I can have sound effects here. I'm using Restream, not StreamYard, but if you want it to be like audience applause or a gong or drum roll or whatever it is, StreamYard has those, and they have the option to upload your own sounds that you can use during your live stream, if that's your style. So moving over to Google Photos. Google Photos has a new feature that will identify key moments in your videos automatically. So the idea is you have your video, it's uploaded, backed up to Google Photos. It's using their automated systems to find a key moment. And once that's identified, you can then, with just a couple of clicks, create a clip. That clip you can download, you can share. It could be kind of fun, depending on how good Google Photos is at doing this. This is rolling out to Android devices in September. So September starts tomorrow. And they say iOS support is coming soon. think this is an interesting thing. Google Photos already does a bunch of things identifying highlight images and videos and so forth. They had previously some kind of thing where it's like they automatically made a clip, but this gives you a little bit more control. If you don't like the key moment, you can remove it as well. Now, talking more about video editing, Google has a video editor aimed at businesses. It's part of the Google Workspace suite of apps. So that's along with Google Drive, Docs, Slides, Sheets, Gmail, all those things. Those are Google Workspace. Google Vids is their video editor. And this week, Google announced Google Vids will be available to everyone, even users with free accounts. Before it was limited to Google Workspace accounts. The catch is that you don't have access to the fancy AI-powered features. So you can import video clips from your device, from Google Drive, from Google Photos. You can record yourself. You can make a screen recording. You can import a Google slide. They have templates you can use. They have a lot of options where you can do a search for stock images, that sort of thing. If you use Google Slides, the interface is very similar. You probably recognize that. So it's at vids.google.com. Give it a try. Again, it doesn't have the fancy AI features, but I think this is really useful, even if you don't have those. I'll mention a couple of updates that are coming. Google says that they are going to allow creation of videos that are square or vertical. This has been a big ask from the beginning, I think. Up until now, you could only make landscape videos. But of course, if you want to share your video to YouTube Shorts or Reels or TikTok or something like that, you couldn't really do that with your landscape video. So soon you'll be able to make a vertical video or a square video. And then they say they're going to be adding backgrounds, filters, and effects and noise reduction. These are all the same features that you have in Google Meetings. Obviously, it's not a big deal technically for Google to do this because they have the technology already all set. It's just going to be incorporated into Google Vids. And that's great if you're recording yourself, you can, have a nicer background behind you. So give those a try. And I will say that they also announced AI features for Google Vids, and you won't have those if you have a free account. Although, if you have signed up for Workspace Labs is basically for personal accounts to try out some of these Google Workspace AI-powered features. You'll have access to some of these AI features, like avatars, for example. And I can say that because I have Workspace Labs, and that's what I have access to. So a few of the features they announced this week: Google Vids will generate a transcript from your video, and then you can edit that transcript to take out filler words that's like and and awkward, what they call awkward pauses. So if you're just sitting there, I don't know, a long time, you can easily trim that out by editing the transcript. I say features like this can be useful, but used with caution, of course, because sometimes not all silences and not all of those filler words are actually bad things. So it can actually break up the flow or change the context if you use it indiscriminately. So the other feature is that Google Vids can convert still images to video with sound. So you can upload your image and then you enter a prompt and it will animate it. So there's this example of a sneaker. They had an example. It's like, oh, a bag of coffee sitting on a counter, and it said, oh, add a woman coming in the background holding a cup of coffee. So I'll mention that this feature is not available in the European Economic Area, Switzerland, or the UK. These video clips you generate are up to 8 seconds long, 24 frames per second frame rate, only 720p resolution. So you may not want that to be full screen if you're going to export these and share them. But you could generate this video and make it a smaller clip. It's only landscape, and you can generate 10 videos per day. This requires a Google Workspace account or one of the AI subscriptions. So Google AI Pro, Google AI Ultra. And then you have the option of using a preset AI avatar. You add a script, and then the avatar reads the script, basically. You can generate up to 20 AI avatar videos per week, and the videos are up to 30 seconds long. So you're not going to make a full-length movie out of this, but a short clip, you can definitely do that. I think one of the disadvantages, though, is, it's only these 12 preset avatars. It's really going to be obvious you're using an AI-generated avatar. So again, do you really need an AI avatar for your video? What benefit does that give? Is a human better? With all our flaws. So those are the big video updates I wanted to talk about this week. I want to say hi to everyone in the live chat. Thank you for joining me today. I'd like to hear what you guys think about this week's updates. Jolyn says she is enjoying Workspace Labs. I recommend signing up for it. I'll put a link in the video description if people haven't signed up for it. I'm not sure it's available in every country, but if it's available to you, it's worth signing up for, because then you get access to a lot of these generative AI features that Google is testing. You can give them a try. Of course, they want you to pay for a subscription. You may not have access to the features forever, but why not do it when you can? So I'm shifting gears now for a few updates for bloggers and for people who have their own websites. The first is that the Typepad blogging platform is shutting down. If you have content on Typepad, you have until September 30th to download it. And WordPress, or at least WordPress.com, I think it's actually all of WordPress, they have a Typepad importer. So if you have an old blog on Typepad, you can import it into WordPress if you want. WordPress is an old school blogging platform. It originally launched in 2003. So that's more than 20 years ago. It used movable type. So this had hosting of blogs using movable type. And I did read that they stopped taking new signups in 2020. So this has probably been coming for a while. It's always kind of sad to see these platforms shut down, though. So Google Search launched their August 2025 spam update. It's rolling out. It will take a few weeks. Google says this is a normal spam update, and it will roll out for all languages and locations. I haven't seen any word yet if there's any serious effects of the rankings in Google Search. Google always says, well, if you don't have a spam site, you shouldn't worry about it. But some sites are always affected, decent sites. So we'll keep an eye on that. And then I wanted to talk about Google's AI overviews. This is part of Google Search. I think it's rolled out globally now. If you go to Google search, you have the choice of using AI mode. It uses this fan out query system where you post a question and then it actually runs multiple queries at the same time and then compiles the information back together. And all of this has got a lot of website owners and bloggers unhappy because people seem to be clicking the links a lot less than they used to. You can see impressions in Google Search Console, but fewer clicks. Of course, Google says, oh, when people do click, it's a higher quality click, so people click when they're really interested. But that's a sort of a cold comfort if people aren't clicking hardly ever. And Google knows this. Google knows web publishers are unhappy about this. And so it was interesting over on X, the Google, this Robbie Stein, who is a Google vice president of product for Google Search. I'm not sure where that is on the hierarchy exactly, but he posted about how Google is working on updates that may encourage people who use AI mode to click the links more often. So what does that mean? They say that people prefer and are more likely to click links that are embedded within AI mode responses when they have context on what they're clicking. So they talk about a couple of updates. One is embedded link carousels inside the AI mode response. And then the other is model updates to improve their inline links. They say we're training the model to understand where and when people are most likely to want to click out. So the idea is that they put these links in the response. So that's what inline means. But the placement of the links can be tweaked to make it more or less likely people will click on them. And these changes are rolling out over the next few weeks. It'll be interesting to see if it makes a significant difference. So Google presumably doesn't want to kill all these websites because they're the source of information that their AI responses are using, but it's a tricky situation. And speaking of links, Facebook Meta released their transparency reports, and I just wanted to highlight this particular statistic, which makes you question if there's any point at all in sharing a link on Facebook. This is their widely viewed content report, and they say 97.8% of the views in the US did not include a link to a source outside of Facebook. For the 2.2% of views in posts that did include a link, they typically came from a page that the person followed. This includes posts which may also have had photos or videos in addition to links. You know, basically the bottom line is if you share links on Facebook, people don't click them. So what's the point? And then just a really quick, I wanted to mention this update to Google Gemini. They have this brand new image generation model called Nano Banana. I guess that was a code name for it when people tried it out. There are a bunch of different things it can do, but basically you upload your own images and then write prompts for them to be repurposed or edited or changed. There's a bunch. You should read this week's newsletter and blog post for all the details. I just wanted to show a quick example, though. I used this thumbnail from the podcast I do on eBoard with Bob and Nina, and I said, imagine the three people in this photo working together in a podcasting studio, and this is what they generated. That's pretty good, right? So I kind of like the layout. Our faces are not quite exactly us. but it's not bad. It's not bad. It's kind of scary. I say it's a little uncanny valley with the faces, close, but not quite there. So as always, I'm going to mention what was happening 10 years ago in 2015 as part of my series to celebrate 10 years of Creator Weekly. 10 years ago this week, the Alliance for Open Media launched. This is a nonprofit industry consortium formed to develop open royalty-free technology for video and other media delivery. It's a mouthful, but I'll explain what that means. The consortium's founding members were Amazon, Cisco, Google, Intel, Microsoft, Mozilla, and Netflix. And today there's actually a lot more members than that. All of the big companies are part of this consortium. So what were they doing? The main video codecs at the time, and now, AVC and HEVC, these are covered by multiple patents. And actually, platforms have to license these patents to incorporate video play in their platforms. And the patents, they could cost millions of dollars to these companies. So the technical details I'm not going to get into, but basically these codecs, it's a method of compressing data while trying to retain video quality. So these are really important, obviously, for any platform that shows video. And one example they used, they said, well, Firefox, the browser, if they wanted to implement these video playing codecs to allow people to play those videos, it would have cost so much money, they couldn't give away the Firefox browser for free. So this is, why this industry came together. They pooled their patents. So there are patents, but then they're basically donating them to this project. And the idea is it should avoid the licensing uncertainty and cost. The very first thing they released was the AV1 video compression format in 2018. This is designed for ultra-high definition video and real-time applications like WebRTC, video communication, and streaming. And I don't know the technical things. Google uses this today, YouTube and Google Meet, and on Android and Chrome. But I think looking back, what's interesting to me is how long it actually takes for something like AV1 to be created and adopted. So AV1 came out in 2018. YouTube started incorporating it immediately, but it wasn't supported for ingestion for live streaming until 2023. Facebook and Vimeo started using it in 2019, Instagram in 2022, Twitch in 2024, so just last year. So these other codecs that AV1 is supposed to be replacing are also still used. Presumably they pay the license fees on this platform. And of course, there's going to be legal challenges. There's companies that have patents. They're going to say, even though they have all these companies' patents, there's these other patents. So it's easy to talk about creating open formats, but the actual implementation of these formats, even with these massive resources, Google, Cisco, Intel, Amazon, it's very complicated and slow. So that is the story for this week. Those are all the updates I have. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a great weekend if you're in the US. Have a nice holiday, and I will see you again next Sunday.